Research shows that fat talk has been shown to be more believable than self-affirming body talk, regardless of body type. But is self-affirming or any kind of affirmative body talk harmless? Hey, welcome or welcome back if you're new here. I am Judy Arizosa, and this is the Air Hug Community Podcast. This podcast is all about living a better second half of your life. Here we love to talk about all the sticky topics, from things that are happening to us physically, mentally, emotionally, and everything in between. Sometimes we have guests, but today it's just me, and as you may have guessed, we're here to talk about body talk. This is episode 131. Yeah, so today we are going to talk about body talk, the good and the bad. And so what is body talk? The definition of body talk is comments and conversations that revolve around a person's physical appearance. Now, these can be positive or negative. They can be well-intentioned or malicious. And they can be about oneself or about other people. But here's the thing, and this is why I wanted to talk about this today. Research shows that just 2 to 5 minutes of body talk has the potential to make someone feel worse about themselves. And this is from the Journal of Eating Disorders, in case you want to know, May 2003. And then there's a couple other little references that I may bring up as we go along here. But I found this very interesting because one of the things that this journal research article found that was exposure to social pressure to be thin has resulted in an increase in body satisfaction. Correction, body dissatisfaction. The results of this study support that peer pressure to be thin promotes body dissatisfaction, which really sucks, right? So how about this? Let's talk about some examples. And I think you've all heard this because I think in theory, we all know what fat talk and body talk is, but I think we'd be surprised at how much we are really exposed to it, not just from ourselves, but from others, and of course, what we hear on social media. How many of you remember forums? Remember back in the day, before social media was really big, certain people would host forums? Well, I've probably mentioned this a couple times, but I was hugely, I don't want to say obsessed, but interested in, and to the point where I had to go to it every day and probably spent, I would say, a good half hour or more per day perusing this one particular fitness forum. It was kind of like the precursor to social media because it was very social with a whole bunch of other people who had a similar interest. Now, I'm not saying that was good or bad, it's just what it was. And the forum had a lot of little subgroups, right, based on topics, whatever, But there was this one person who would literally post every single week, because I kept track because it began to really annoy me, but I didn't understand why it annoyed me. But she would have negative body talk about herself. And then, of course, people would respond about what a wonderful person she was and how great she looked and yada, 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 yada. And after a while, I could not go to any of the groups that person was in because my opinion at the time was that she was looking for affirmations. I mean, there was no intonation, right, because it was all text, but it was a whiny kind of comment about herself. And she was always putting herself down. And it just got to be a real drag after a while, and I never really understood this. And this was probably in the late 90s to maybe around the turn of the century. Ooh, it sounds funny to say turn of the century, doesn't it? But I never really understood why, and then I started thinking about this the other day and then came upon this research. And so here I am because I think we hear this a lot more than we used to. I'm going to give you a couple of examples, okay, of some seemingly harmless comments, which really are far from harmless. So here's one that I think we've all heard, whether you've said it or listened to it. I feel fat today. So when you hear someone say that, and you look at them, I mean, it can spark all sorts of emotions in your own mind, never mind even their mind. But like when I hear someone say that and I perceive them to be a fit person or a person in a normal size body, or what I would say a healthy size body, or just a healthy body, regardless of size, a healthy body. Let me go there. It kind of annoys me. Like, does that mean they think I'm fat? Because they feel fat? And it has me, all of a sudden, I start to feel like an imposter in my own body. And these are just thoughts going through my head. So I wonder how other people feel. How does someone feel who's really struggling to live healthier and feeling not good about her efforts? So there's one. Here's another one. Quote, did you see so-and-so wearing that blank? I mean, seriously, doesn't she have a full-length mirror? How many of you have heard someone say that? And obviously that's making a judgment about what someone else chooses to wear. And it's also making a judgment about what we think they should be allowed to wear based on the shape of their body, which to me is wrong on so many levels. Like, first of all, it's none of our business, but to be so judgmental. And there again, if I hear someone saying that, I'm like, well, I wonder what they're saying about me behind my back about what I'm wearing. And I know we're not supposed to care what others think, but the reality is we care deeply about what other people think, right? I mean, let's be honest here. I know it's a work in progress not to care, but in the meantime, it can really do a number on our brain, right? Maybe not, but it does for me. Here's another one. Quote, I'm so close to my goal weight. Today is all about veggies and water. Yep, I totally got this. Quote. So I don't know if you've ever heard anyone say something similar to that. And again, maybe someone has not been feeling so great about the choices they've made lately, and now they feel even worse about themselves. It's just, it feels like kind of like a passive aggressive insult, like, I'm so great and you're not, kind of thing. And again, it's not that I'm not saying that everyone feels that way, but research shows that just listening to that can actually increase our own body dissatisfaction. Here's another one. Quote, look at her abs, or look at her abs, depending on the inflection there, right? And then, of course, we may all of a sudden like touch our abs and all of a sudden feel insecure, right? Oh. And here's another one. And this one I have heard, and it sends out huge red flags. Quote, I wish I had blank illness so I could lose weight like so-and-so. End quote. And I'm very sad and sorry to say that I have actually heard people say that in my gym years and years and years ago. Those people are not here anymore, but that just broke my heart. Like, what are you willing to go through to be a slave to a number on a scale, right? Sacrificing your health. And again, even just hearing that, like, maybe you don't think that way, but then you heard it and you're like, geez, should I be thinking that way? What should I do? Maybe I should, and then now all of a sudden you're dissatisfied with your body when maybe you hadn't thought about it before that. So I'm just here to say today that we have enough pressure on ourselves, stemming from the time we're adolescents, when we become aware of our female bodies. And I am talking to women here, but you know what? Men are not immune to this either. I can only speak from my female point of view, obviously. But I think from the time we're adolescents, and we are taught, are we taught this or is it an instinct? Here's a question. Because we feel the need to be attractive to the opposite sex because that's how the species survives, right? We are attracted to someone else, they're attracted to us, we procreate, and the human species continues. And so it can be pretty tricky, right? And last week we talked about body trends, about what really is attractive. And I couldn't believe, I still can't believe that some industry is going to dictate to us what an attractive female body is, or male body for that matter, right? The thing is, I think someone will always find someone else. There's someone for everyone, right? Right? So your body type is your body type, and the person who finds you attractive, you'll meet them someday, or maybe you already met them, or whatever, or maybe you don't care to procreate, and maybe you're not attracted to the opposite sex, whatever. But I feel like to some degree we are working with human nature here, right? And in the preservation of our species. But then I also feel like it's gone a little bit far with this whole obsession with body size, which I talked about in episode 130. And now today we're talking about to others, hearing it, verbalizing it, saying it, and how being obsessed with all these body talk, whether it be fat talk or praise of different types of bodies, all of this can contribute to our own body dissatisfaction. And so what I would politely like to say is think before you speak. Maybe you don't think you're harming yourself, but if you're saying that out loud, maybe you could be contributing to someone else's body dissatisfaction or worse. And so I guess it's kind of goes back to like what we learned, not even what we learned in kindergarten, because that would be if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all, which is nice, but you don't really need to comment on anyone else's body or your own in the presence of others. Period. All right? And what we now know is that it contributes to body dissatisfaction, and we don't want to do that to ourselves or to others. So let's just go on doing the best that we can, right, to have a body that serves us well all the days of our lives, and however we want to define that, in whatever size body we choose to have. We get to choose how we live our life, and we don't get to choose how we judge others. We can judge others, but we don't need to share it with other people. So there's that. Anyways, that's my quickie. That's my whole thing about fat talk and body talk today. But I feel like it is a very powerful message. And if this speaks to you in any way, or if you're tired of hearing this, when you are in the presence of others or seeing it on social media or whatever, please feel free to share this. Grab a screenshot, share it on your social media, share it with your friends, do whatever you can do so that we don't contribute to body dissatisfaction in ourselves and others. Because, hey, we got enough going on in our lives and the struggle is real. We don't need to make it any worse. So listen, hop back on here next week on Tuesday for an all-new episode here on the Air Hug Community Podcast. Next week, we have an episode all about movement snacking. Ooh, what does that mean? Thank you very much for lending me your ear. And one more thing, if you haven't done so yet, would you please do us a favor and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform, because reviews are the lifeblood of podcasts. Ta-ta for now.